Welcome to Put a Word on It, a reflection on some of the great interviews that we've done in the past that people have asked about and that we love listening to one more time. It's like reading the Bible over and over again. You get something fresh out of it. The man I want you to see one more time is Dan Hysell. He's a fascinating story. His background he'll go through in the interview, but the neatest part about it is that he saw a woman that he loved, but as a man of God, didn't even approach her for a whole year. He wanted to do it right. How do you do that? Wonderful story, wonderful memory. Let's go back and listen to Dan Hysell. Welcome to Put a Word on It, a podcast presented by Men of Valor. In each episode, we're going to talk with a different man, but each one with a unique journey from brokenness to freedom. I'm your host, Rudy Kalis. I spent over 40 years as a TV sportscaster, then retired and joined the Men of Valor program as a volunteer. So join the conversation. Reconciling men to God, their families, and society. Thanks for joining us for another edition of Put a Word on It, brought to you by Southwestern Investment Group. Good folks that have really supported us here at Men of Valor for some time. We appreciate all your help. Dan Hysell is a man I want you to meet. I love these kind of stories because he's a graduate of Men of Valor. He's been through it. He graduated in 2019. Had a whole life that he just gladly talks about how God transformed him and changed him, but he's been consistent after that, and it's just remarkable. I love these stories of men who have stayed consistent in their lives after going through this program and believing in the God above. Here's Dan. Ohio State, the Ohio State fan?
Yes, sir.
Did you go to any of the football games?
Yeah, I've been to a few.
Did you?
Yeah.
Stays with you all the time.
Yeah, I'm gonna be.
So you grew
Buckeye.
up there. Mom, dad, family. What did you have?
Yeah, my mom and dad was in the home when I was young. Had two sisters, one older, one younger. Grew up on the west side in a neighborhood called the Bottoms. You know, it was a poor area. You know, we didn't have much, but at the time I didn't know any better. You know, I was just a kid, so I was happy when I was young. But my father ended up moving out on us, and that was tough. You know, that was a hard part.
Yeah.
When I was a teenager.
That makes such an impact to a young kid to see his dad all of a sudden move out. How did that affect you?
I was angry. I didn't understand why he left my sisters and my mom there with nothing. And I mean, I was surrounded by, drugs and all that, living where I live. So I started selling drugs at a young age, just to try to help my mom and sisters out.
Really? How old what age are you talking about?
I was about 16, 17.
Literally to help them out?
Mm-hmm.
Did your mom know where the money was coming from?
Yeah, she did. We never spoke about it,
but she needed the help.
Yeah, she needed the help.
Isn't that interesting? There's a part of you that says, man, this is wrong, but I got to help out my family.
Yeah.
Did that battle go on inside of you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But again, living where I lived, it was the norm. It's what people did there.
But did it get worse and worse? What finally got you incarcerated?
My dad actually asked my mom. He had purchased a home without us, and then she ended up moving in with him and my two sisters. But he said there wasn't room for me. So by the age of 17, I was on my own. So, I was still dabbling with selling drugs, but I just ended up getting a job, started working, and I just worked hard for the next few years. I ended up meeting a woman and had a daughter. And we ended up getting married. Then we had a son. But that wasn't,
You're young.
Yeah. I was just trying to be a good dad. I knew I didn't know the Lord my whole life. We'd gone to church a few times when I was a kid, but it was usually on holidays. So I didn't grow up with the Lord. I didn't know anything about being a good, godly man or how to go about it. But so I just thought I was doing what I was supposed to do. I was trying to be a good father and just work, and started my own business and doing pretty good up until mid to late 20s. The marriage was doomed from the beginning, but that ended up not working out. She left, took all the money. We had just got a home and the kids and moved out of state. So I went through a really bad depression. I was really trying, and just all went away one day. Someone had given me a Percocet and said, this will make, it'll take your pain away. And it did. It took my emotional pain, physical pain. And I was ignorant to them at the time. I didn't realize you could be addicted to them. I'd never heard of them before. But the next thing you know, I was going through withdrawals and I just had to have more. Well, that just snowballed. It just got worse and worse with the depression. I ended up losing everything, my truck, my house, everything. And a few years of that, it turns into heroin addiction. Ended up shooting up heroin for probably the next 6 years. I was homeless. I lived wherever I was tired enough to fall asleep. Under bridges, burned out garages, sheds, tents. It was I didn't want to live. Didn't care if I woke up in the morning. It just was the worst feeling ever, and I hated who I was. I knew there was something more to life, but I didn't know what to do. I was trapped with this addiction. I just couldn't get clean. Ended up getting incarcerated for about 4 months for probation violation. Because I had gotten caught driving under suspension a few times, drug possession, nothing huge, but I ended up getting incarcerated for 4 months, and that gave me time to get clean. Still searching for something in life, some meaning, and I ended up getting released. Still had nowhere to go. I ended up going to jail, getting released, being homeless, and starting over 4 times in the next few years, and it just took everything out of me. And the last time I ended up coming down to Nashville for work and ended up staying here. I made some bad choices, met a woman that had a lot of really bad problems and issues in her life, ended up getting incarcerated for over a year. And that's where I found God. I remember sitting in the back of the cop car and just crying. And I still hadn't known the Lord yet, but I could feel something was going to be different this time. And I actually thanked the cop for arresting me. And it's a true story. I just could feel something was going to be different. When I got incarcerated, I got locked up. First thing I did, I picked up a Bible. Started meeting men that I was incarcerated with. They had the same interests. Doing Bible studies every day, as many as I can get my hands on. Met a guy named Bobby Stout, who had gone through the program for about 6 months and then got reincarcerated on an older charge. Well, he told me about the Men Of Valor program. And when I saw the pamphlets and how strict it was and all the rules, I'm like, this is what I need. This is where I need to be. And I started praying, and I was looking at a 3 to 4 year sentence. They were not going to offer any kind of bargain. Basically, my public defender said, you're going to have to do these 3 years. So I was already preparing myself for that. And just out of sheer coincidence, I was going to court the same day Bobby Stout was, and Tommy Mathis was there on behalf of Bobby Stout. Well, I told my public defender, I was like, I want to go to this program. I believe the guy's out in the audience in the courtroom. So he finds Tommy. When I go up in front of the judge, Tommy stands up on my behalf and tells the judge about the Men Of Valor program. He gives me an OR, released me that day. 15 minutes later, I was sitting next to Tommy in the courtroom. It was just, Lord had his plan, and he was working it. And it was amazing. Like literally 15 minutes later, they took me straight back, dressed me out, and I'm sitting next to Tommy waiting on another guy he was there to see.
Wow.
Yeah, it was incredible.
And somehow God gave you a wonderful woman now, didn't he? A wife.
Oh, yeah. Early on in the program, I started going to Lighthouse Church, and I walk in and I see this woman, and God spoke to me right then. He's like, that's your wife. That's all he said. That's your wife. I've never had God speak to me before. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what it meant. I prayed on it. I even asked him to give me a sign if it was real. And he did. He answered that request the next day at church. I made a covenant with the Lord. I'm like, Lord, if she's to be my wife, I will not speak to her until I graduate. I'm not ready yet. I know that. I didn't speak a word to her for the entire year. It was hard. You know, a lot of the guys, they was like, "Are you going to talk to Lacey today on Sunday?" I'm like, "Oh yeah," and you know, never would. And so they would tease me about it, you know. But I stayed faithful. I didn't seek out any other women or girlfriends or anything like that, even though I didn't know anything about her. Never spoke to her. 2 weeks after I graduated Men of Valor, I asked her out, and we went out on a date, and told her my story. She told me about herself. Her father was a preacher. She was a preschool teacher at Lighthouse Christian Schools for 16 years. And literally December of that year, we were married. Had a beautiful wedding at the Lighthouse Church where we met. And just God's been blessing us ever since. It's just been amazing. You stay obedient to the Lord and you will be blessed. And he has proven that every day.
I know he's given you a beautiful baby child now as
Yes.
well. You know, our program, the name of it is Put a Word on It. Is there a
Yes,
word
sir.
that comes to your mind?
My word is grateful. I'm just grateful for what God has done in my life. He's changed me inside and out. Everything about it, every aspect is because of him. And I'm just so grateful. I can't even put it into words. But if I had to, that's my word.
Is there a verse that goes with it for you?
Yes, somewhat goes with that word, but it leads up to it. Galatians 6:9. Let us not become weary in doing good. For all the proper time, we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. So staying obedient to the Lord, it's hard sometimes. You know, it's very hard. But if you do that, you will reap a harvest. You will be blessed. And I'm just grateful for everything the Lord's done for me.
Well, let me tell you, that gratefulness comes through your whole personality. You're a pleasure to be with, Dan. Congratulations.
It's nice to hear, and I'm honored to be here, and thank you so much.
Well, let me put a word on it. I love the word grateful, and you could just see that written all over Dan's face. And he's grateful for so many things in life. I'll tell you what really inspired him. I asked him afterwards when we were done, I said, what about your other children, your older children? If you reconnected, he said it was hard at first. They really didn't want to be a part of his life. But then they could see the transformed man that he is. And now they've literally flown into town, become a part of the family, and he's reunited. And he said it's just incredible how God has worked, changing him and then bringing them back into his life. And then the new baby, you talk about man being grateful. He just loves it, what God has done in his life. Thanks for joining us. Join us again next time as we put a word on it.